What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today I'm covering an expanded format deck which won the Atlas Mini Expanded 10. Jonathan Soto piloted this attacking stall deck to a first place finish. I did change one card based off of his Twitter post that said he would have changed the card if he had had it, so we'll go into that and how this deck works. I did play this on Twitch recently, but the expanded ladder, it's sometimes hard to get really good games in, so I do have all of my PTCGO VODs up on Twitch, so you can go check out the VOD if you wanted to see some gameplay at twitch.tv/Celio's Network. But today we're just going to cover exactly how this deck works and the cards inside of it. Before we get into the deck profile, shout out to PotownStore.com, the best place for you to get PTCGO codes, and make sure you use code Celio for 5% off of your order. So this is a stall deck in the expanded format, and notably it is attacking stall, so there is a fair amount of energy. 6 energy is a good bit to have in a stall-ish deck. So it's attacking stall because you will win a lot of your games by actually attacking, unless your opponent scoops, of course. So there's not many of any one Pokemon. The most copies of a Pokemon we have in this deck are 2 Hoopa and 2 Litleo, because you want to have a variety of options in this type of deck. You could consider Lillie's Pokédoll as kind of a pseudo Pokemon, and there are 4 copies of Lillie's Pokédoll. Also to note, there are no Robo substitutes, so if there was to be a restriction of only playing 4 Pokédoll or 4 Robo substitute, this deck would not be affected by that. And this list also played 0 Tropical Beach, so if you do not have Tropical Beach, no worries, you can copy this list and get into the ladder or even some expanded tournaments on your own. The one card I did change was Jonathan was playing the 8-Palm from the Pika-Rom League Battle deck. He said it would have been replaced with Durant if he had Durant, so I just went ahead and replaced it with Durant for the purposes of this deck profile. So why don't we start off with Pyroar, since Pyroar is a pretty important card. So Pyroar has the ability Intimidating Mane, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's basic Pokemon, and then it also has an attack that does 60 damage for 3 energy or 90 if you discard a fire. So the Intimidating Mane ability, this is pretty iconic of what a stall deck wants to have in it. It prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks of X kind of Pokemon. So this prevents damage done to it by opponent's basic Pokemon. Then we have Hoopa. This prevents all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's GX and EX Pokemon. Then we have Xurkitree-GX, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have any special energy attached to them. So we have these 3 situational walls in Xurkitree-GX, Pyroar, and Hoopa. Now, because we are playing Rainbow Energy and Counter Energy, any of these 3 can attack. So if your opponent has something to loop their deck or time the game out to a tie or what have you, you are able to attack with these Pokemon. Actually, sorry, you cannot attack with Xurkitree to win the game, but you can attack with Pyroar and Hoopa to win the game, since we just play the 1 Rainbow Energy and 1 Counter, and Xurkitree cannot use Counter Energy to count as 2 Lightning Energy, but you can use Pyroar and Hoopa to just attack until you win the game. Jonathan did mention in his post maybe Xurkitree-GX can come out. I do think it's the least useful out of the 3 wall Pokemon in the deck, but it still has an okay purpose of walling out decks that only play special energy. So now that I've kind of explained what the walls do, you should be getting a pretty good sense of how a stall or wall deck would work in the expanded format, especially this one. Since it's attacking stall, it's even a little bit easier. You have a little bit less of tricks up your sleeve, and you kind of just want to sit your single wall Pokemon out there, so your opponent cannot win by taking prize cards, and then you eventually start attacking. There's really no rush to start attacking. The only thing you should feel like you have pressure on you for is to get the Pyroar evolved against decks where Pyroar is your win condition. So you kind of have to identify what kind of Pokemon you think your opponent's deck has in it. So in the expanded ladder, if you're playing on the PTCGO ladder, there's a lot of random stuff happening on the PTCGO ladder. So you might have to really read into what you think your opponent's doing. But if they're playing an established archetype, you can usually tell if Pyroar or Hoopa or Xurkitree-GX will be good for that match. Lugia-GX has the Lost Purge GX attack. Put your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it into the Lost Zone. So if your opponent's deck has, let's say, one Pokemon in it that counters you, so like a VMAX Pokemon, you don't have anything that specifically walls out VMAX Pokemon in this deck. Zamazenta is, of course, a thought, but a deck with VMAX Pokemon also has V, so then they could just attack the Zamazenta with a V Pokemon. You're really not going to run into only VMAX decks in expanded, so Zamazenta just does not seem very good. But if they have one Pokemon that counters your deck, you can Lost Purge it, attach DCE and counter gain, then Lost Purge GX it to the Lost Zone, and they have their one win condition gone. Of course, they can then knock out the Lugia-GX, but that doesn't matter if you then just send up Pyroar or Hoopa or Xurkitree-GX after that, and then you just wall them out of the game. So in the matchups where you cannot wall them out of the game, you have Sudowoodo with Watch and Learn, which is really good against Snorlax VMAX and against Pikarom, because you can just knock out 2-3 prize Pokemon if you use Watch and Learn twice. You can even do this to just get rid of a threat and then go back to walling, since it's fairly easy to just use Teammates to search for any 2 cards, get your Sudowoodo counter energy, and pop something that just attacked you. Sudowoodo hits some important weaknesses in expanded, so it's a very strong card. Another option is to gust something up with Guzma repeatedly until it gets stuck there, and then start discarding and milling your opponent's deck with Burrow from Bunnelby, and also with Bellelba and Brycen-Man to mill your opponent's deck. Also, we have Trick Shovel in here too for a 1-card mill. Durant kind of mills your opponent in a different way. If they're just drawing a lot of cards and then shuffling it in with N, then drawing their whole deck, then shuffling it in with N, you can stop that with Durant's Chip Off. Discard cards from your opponent's hand at random until he or she has 4 cards in their hand. So that's another great card if you're not going with the wall strategy, because you cannot against your opponent's deck. Of course, the Lillie's Pokédoll, you're just going to want to force your opponent to try to knock out these when possible, but with Guzma and 4 versus Seeker, sometimes Dowsing Machine, sometimes other resource recursion in the format, Lillie's Pokédoll isn't always going to work out. They're going to be able to gust around your Pokemon sometimes. Mimikyu's Impersonation is a really cool card, because you can discard a supporter to use it a second time, or just use a second supporter of any kind in your turn. So if your opponent has 6 cards left in their deck, you could just use Bellelba Brycen-Man to mill 3, versus Seeker it back, then use Impersonation as your attack to use Bellelba again and mill 3 and win the game. Girafarig's Get Lost can get resources gone from your opponent's Lost Zone and send them away so they cannot use them for the rest of the game. So like I was saying, if your opponent has recursion and that's affecting you, you can use Get Lost to get rid of things like basic energy if they're playing an energy acceleration deck. If you knocked out their one Pokemon that can get through your walls and they might get it back later on, you could Get Lost it. Another good thing is to remove their energy. Now we do have Faba, which already sends the special energy straight to the Lost Zone. Team Flare Grunt discards an energy attached to the opponent's active, but then so you could Team Flare Grunt an energy and then Get Lost it with Girafarig. If your opponent's playing a deck that doesn't have a lot of energy acceleration, this could be a pretty decent option. Against some decks, you can pair Faba and Team Flare Grunt and Girafarig, and then Lost Purge to get rid of multiple energy at one time and run your opponent out of energy. Even if your opponent's playing some special energy, some basic energy, you can try to get rid of all the basic energy, so then they only have specials left and then can't get through Xurkitree-GX. So this is a very versatile deck with a lot of annoying cards and a lot of options to have around. AZ is very good because you can pick up the Pokemon that are not your walls or the Pokemon that you need in that deck or in that matchup. So if you have Zacian down and let's say Sudowoodo down because you started it, and then you have your Pyroar, you can AZ Zacian up so they can't gust it and knock it out the next turn versus Seeker AZ Sudowoodo up, and then you could just draw pass until you find your energy, leave Pyroar in the active. If they don't have a counter, nothing's going to happen to your Pyroar or your Hoopa or your Xurkitree, and just leave it there until you draw into what you need to make your next step. Zacian is here as kind of a pseudo Tropical Beach, so you can just draw 3, end your turn. I'm not sure if Tropical Beach is just better than Zacian, or if Zacian actually works well in this deck. I think Zacian does kind of work well in this deck because you're playing for Nest Ball and you want to play Chaotic Swell to stop your opponent from playing the stadium they want, like Silent Lab for the Ultra Necrozma deck or Thunder Mountain in Pikarom. But then again, Zacian is a Pokemon that they can gust and knock out, where Tropical Beach is a stadium. Like I said, Tropical Beach is expensive, so this list not playing Tropical Beach may be appealing for some people that want to play a stall deck and expanded, but didn't want to trade hundreds and hundreds of packs for Tropical Beaches. So I think I covered the basis of this deck pretty well. Like I said, there is some gameplay over from a recent Twitch stream. If you want to check that out over at twitch.tv/Celios Network and drop me a follow over there so you know when I'm going live. I will export this list made and piloted by Jonathan Soto to first place in an Atlas tournament. I'll export it and put it in the description of this video. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already for daily Pokemon TCG content, and leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and you want to see more expanded content. Check out PotownStore.com for all of your PTCGO needs and use code CELIO for 5% off. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celios Network.